What's going on, YouTubers? JimJam here. And in today's episode of Gym Facts, we're going to talk about shoulder training. People are often asking, how do you get such big shoulders? The truth is, I do the same stuff that a lot of physique athletes do. The only difference lies in the execution in which I do these exercises. A common exercise for deltoid development is the dumbbell side raise. I'm going to show you a different way to do it. Now what you need is an incline bench, get a kneel on it, prop yourself up on one elbow, and you're going to go up as high as you can, lower down slowly. Don't let the dumbbell rest at the bottom. Explode up. Keep constant tension on that medial delt. I usually start off with 3 to 5 sets, usually 10 to 12 reps. And yeah, this exercise is probably my #1 recommendation for getting that capped look on the outer delt. And my second recommendation for developing capped delts is the seated dumbbell shoulder press. As shown here, she's using a slow and controlled form, bringing the dumbbells below her ears and exploding up. During this exercise, I see a lot of guys, for some reason they feel the need to go really heavy, and they need a spotter just to get the weight started for them on the very first rep. And I feel like if you can't do a single rep by yourself, you should probably lower the weight a little bit. I usually recommend 2 warm-up sets and 3 working sets of at least 8 reps per set. Having a spotter to push you beyond failure is nice, but it's not necessary to be done absolutely every workout. One thing that I recommend doing is training your shoulders twice a week. Most people, they just do it once a week. And yeah, I've been doing them twice a week for years now, and I think that is a crucial part in the developing of my shoulders. But if you're doing forced reps with a spotter multiple times a week, that's really going to take its toll on your body. So save those forced reps and only do them, once a month, once every couple weeks. Anything more than that, and you're really just going to beat up your body. From there, I'll move on to rear delts. For rear delts, I usually recommend a higher rep range, typically anywhere from 12 to 20 reps, using a slow, controlled tempo, really focusing on squeezing the muscle, as I'll show you here. This is called the dumbbell reverse fly. Key to this: bend your torso parallel with the ground, keep your arms completely straight. You essentially want to spread your hands apart, like so. As you can see, I'm only using 8 pounds. And believe it or not, this is enough to stimulate real muscle growth. Because the rear delts are such a small muscle group, they're surrounded by a lot of other primary movers like the lats and the traps, and those have a tendency to take over. And so I'll see some guys that are trying to do reverse flies with like 30, 40 pounds, and all the load is being taken over by their lats and their traps. One thing in particular I get asked about quite a bit is, how do you get such big traps? And truth be told, I've never really worried about my traps. I feel like if you're doing a lot of heavy deadlifts and rows multiple times a week, you shouldn't need any direct trap work. I mean, if they're a glaring weak point, maybe throw in some dumbbell shrugs, but I personally don't find big traps to be part of what is the aesthetic ideal. Everybody talks about having broad shoulders, small waist. Having big traps can make your shoulders actually look narrower, so I don't really see the appeal there. Another thing people can do without is the exercise known as the front raise, which I'll show you here. It usually looks something like this. The purpose of this being that they want to isolate the front head of their deltoids. And personally, I've never looked at anyone and said that guy needs more front delts. Like if you look at the deltoid group from the side, I mean, I work my rear delts a lot more than my front, but you can see the front delt just has a natural tendency to develop more so, and that seems to be the case with a lot of people. Yeah, very, very few people, if any, need to work their front delts directly due to the nature of your heavy bench presses, incline presses, shoulder presses, dips. All those work your front delts. If you're doing your due diligence and all your heavy chest stuff, you shouldn't need to do front raises. Lastly, one thing I often see mis-executed is what people think is rotator cuff work. It's a dumbbell like so, and they're moving it sideways through space. All this is doing is working the biceps in a static position. Gravity's pushing the weight down, it's not providing any lateral resistance. So moving the weight sideways through space is not actually working your internal or external rotators. If you want to work on your rotator cuffs, I like to take an exercise band like so. Keep the elbow in tight and externally rotate. I usually recommend using a more sturdy object than the bike, but you get the point. You're essentially, see, the band is providing a lateral resistance rather than gravity, which provides straight up and down resistance. Working on your external rotators is actually a crucial part of shoulder health. Most daily activities like driving, typing, they all involve internal rotation. And same thing, everybody likes to do a lot of heavy bench press and that kind of thing. Again, that's an internal rotation exercise, which can lead to a very imbalanced shoulder joint. And over time that leads to rotator cuff injuries, AC joint impingement. So developing those external rotators can help kind of balance out your shoulders, posturally speaking. It's not going to do anything for deltoid development, but it's great just for general health and functionality. Well guys, this has been another episode of Gym Facts. I recommend you go hammer those Boulder Shoulders twice a week, let the gains unfold, and I'll see you guys soon.